Hi, this is Crystal Hardison from Southeastern Livingston Center. I'm the director, and you are listening to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Ladder & Bloom with your real estate tip of the week. Something that buyers and sellers don't typically think about is how the age of the roof can affect the sale. Sellers assume that if their roof isn't leaking and there's no missing shingles, then everything is fine. They assume that because they have a homeowner's insurance policy on the house, that the buyer's not going to have any problem getting insurance, especially if a roofer told them that they have a 15 to 18 year shingle or a 25 to 30 year shingle. They assume that there will be no issue if their roof is within that age range, but that's not necessarily the case. Some insurance carriers are hesitant to issue a new policy if there's a 3-tab roof that's 10 years or older, architectural shingle roof that's 15 years or older, or a metal roof that's 25 years or older. And an appraiser may mention it as a condition on the appraisal report, which could cause an issue with the lender. Now, this will vary depending on the type of loan that a buyer's getting, and of course, from insurance carrier to insurance carrier, it'll be different. But just be aware that this could be an issue. One thing that buyers can do to help is very early on, during their inspection period, start getting insurance quotes. Then if an issue comes up with the roof, there's plenty of time to get it resolved. If you have any questions at all, speak with your insurance agent or give me a call and I'll be happy to help. I'm Tricia Johnston with Ladder & Bloom, and I'll be back here next week with another real estate tip for you.
So, from a guy with 3 kids at home, I, like many of you, know the value of keeping children busy. When I say that, I don't mean playing with their iPhone busy or meaningless work busy. I'm a big believer in educational busyness, having fun while they are learning something. Front Yard Bikes is a nonprofit located in Baton Rouge that does just that, teaching children and young adults ages 6 to 18 skills ranging from bike mechanics to gardening to cooking to welding. My guest for today, Dustin Lafont, is founder of Front Yard Bikes, Jenny Seivers, who brought this nonprofit to my attention. So welcome both of you to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So Dustin, one of the many things I am blessed with in doing this podcast is it affords me the opportunity to feature lesser known nonprofits. You know, you got the big ones out there like St. Jude, and those are all great nonprofits, but there's some really good, maybe lesser known nonprofits that I really enjoy spotlighting. Yours would be one of those. When Jenny told me your story and what you do, I thought it would be great to have you on the show and kind of feature that and get it out there, especially in this community of Livingston Parish. Now, in your case, I would imagine early on you had a love for bikes that kind of started your journey into Front Yard Bikes.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I just fell in love with vintage, road bikes. I guess people call them English racers.
Yes.
10-speeders and, some Japanese bikes. And I just thought it was really cool to have all these vintage things, and just started tinkering and playing and building that stuff. And then just fell in love with riding. Just love to get out, ride, especially, we have our Mississippi River with some great paths and some great spots that are just really fun. So just riding the city and riding around and enjoying it.
I agree. And, it's interesting. I had a guy on my show recently, Sebastian Alvarez.
Good friend.
Do you know Sebastian?
Sebastian's awesome. I've been in his, I've been able to help with Wills to Succeed on a couple of occasions. And
fantastic.
Big fan of him and his late father and the work they've done with Wills to Succeed. Great stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. And good, just a great guy in general, funny. And he came on my show, and he actually rebuilt his version of his dad's bike. And I went to his office one day, and he actually let me touch it and pick it up. And it weighed like a sheet of paper.
Yep.
I mean, it was super light, but beautiful. It was like looking at at a classic Porsche or something, and you can see him light up. So I'd imagine you're the same way when you see those classic.
Absolutely.
Biking is something that is just a great hobby to get into in general. Front yard bikes, there was a point it didn't exist, and the concept came along with you somewhere along that point. I want you to tell the story of that. How did it start?
I mean, in all honesty, I was just graduating from LSU, living in old South Baton Rouge, paying my way through. So, finding anywhere you can live in affordable housing. And I was blessed.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. I was, blessed to start volunteering at community gardens in the area and being a part of some really cool community work. And, one day, one kid just said he had a broke bike and asked if anybody could help him fix it. So people directed him my way. And I thought to myself, it'd be cool if I just, fix somebody's bike and did, a good deed. But it'd be way more empowering if I let you hold the tools and I teach you, because then you won't need me. You'd be able to learn that skill and move on with that knowledge yourself.
Wow. And kind of like the old adage with fishing. You teach somebody to fish, you give them a fish, that whole thing.
Absolutely. So I thought, all right, let's do that. And he came by my rent house, and his bike was way worse off than we thought. Originally. It's like anybody asks you to fix something, they say like, oh, it's just a couple things, and you're like, oh, yeah. And you start looking like, wow, so after we buried that bike and gave it a funeral, we got another one that we could really give a shot at to try to repair. And he earned it by working with me on that bike, and I saw him ride home that one day, and I just thought, well, that was fun. I didn't think there would be about 15 of his other friends that would come by the house the next day saying, hey, we all got broke bikes too and can use a hand.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, okay, well, here we have these young people. They're so engaged, so interested in learning and building, creating, and they have a passion and desire. Standing on my little stoop there, how do you say no to that energy? How do you say, no, there's no opportunity. There's not really a system. There's not really an organization for this. It's just me. So, no, I can't help you. You just find yourself saying yes, and you move into that little by little. And over the last 11 years, building from the front yard of a little rent house all the way into our beautiful facilities in Baton Rouge, it's just been an amazing journey. And that one kid, Rajay Wilson, he was 10, now he's 21, and we're still hanging out. It's just 11 years of relationship, awesome. And his brother is our manager at our business. It's become more about the family and community almost than the bikes were just a distraction for us to get together and build community, which has been a really special journey.
When Jenny was telling me about it, I was very intrigued. It sounded like a wonderful organization. And what I want to get to now is these kids come to you and you basically teach them these skills. I know y'all are affiliated with the is it the Big Brother organization?
Yeah, so we're partners with the Big Buddy program, which is fantastic for mentors and great relationships and building, getting adults and young people together so that they can be mentored for opportunities and grow to be successful individuals, which is fantastic. And we're kind of a little bit different because we just do a lot of work together and then we talk later.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, you probably don't want to sit here and talk anymore because you probably are a little bit out of that.
Right.
And there's wonderful organizations to do those relationships, but we like to get our hands dirty. And then after we get our hands dirty, you see young people want to open up, ask more questions. It's no different from playing a pickup basketball game with a bunch of kids. After that, now they want to talk and have interactions and have questions about growing up in life.
Yeah.
For us, it's working on a bike, digging in the garden, painting the walls of a building we're renovating or working on and beautifying, and sometimes getting in the fab shop, cutting and drilling and sawing and doing some fun stuff. And that opens somebody up to then want to ask questions just maybe about just anything in life and have trust and be confident that, you care about me because we've already spent time together. So it's not like you're coming here to talk at me anymore. Yeah. And you're here to listen.
That's interesting. And, you're absolutely right. They will open up over time. And I think opening up comes with trust. And I think that maybe what these kids are doing is they're forming almost a trust level with that, I guess you could say, mentor, that person And when they form that trust level, they'll open up and you find out things maybe you didn't know. And hey, man, maybe the home life ain't as great as you would think it was, or whatever it may be. And then that's when these mentors can really help. And give some life experience, because we've all had times in life where, maybe everything wasn't perfect, right? And so that is what I think is a big value to this program is kind of this, it's great that you're learning these skills. These kids are learning something they can take with them. They're learning to work with their hands in general. And we all know trades right now are of any type are really something that lacks as far as labor is concerned. So, your nonprofit is something that kind of starts them off early. They learn a little hard work, but they learn how to use their mind to fix things, and out of that comes the help. And we just love that around here. Now, your experience as it relates to the nonprofit, I had asked you about that in your questionnaire, and I'm going to read this because I found this very interesting. It says, I was a difficult kid growing up, and my mother, I can't imagine that, by the way. I was a difficult kid growing up, and my mother, who was a principal, always built positive affirmations in me. She never let me quit on myself. So when I began working in community gardens and public schools with youth, I carried those lessons. Young people want someone to believe in them and walk it out with them. I'm fortunate that I've been able to do that the last 11 years, and I couldn't agree with that more. That's exactly what I think young people want. I think some of the problems or some of the issues with young people is they just don't have someone there that they feel like they can relate to. And so shout out to you. I thought that was very well written. And how important is positive influence on people, in your opinion?
Absolutely. A lot of people feel like when they're raising kids, and, Jenny probably attest to this, is we always want to tell them what they're doing wrong. Like the first time we talk to them is like, hey, you know what you need to do better? Hey, you know what's wrong? Hey, you know what you need to fix? But just as many times as you say that, you need to say everything's going right, everything they're doing well. In fact, even the things everybody says, well, they're supposed to do that. It says, look, you got to build it into them, let them know that it's a good quality. You can't just say, well, you're supposed to do it, because then there's no reward for it for young people who want to hear at least something of like, hey, you showed up on time. You're a timely person. You know what? I know you're always on time. And from there on, if you're late, that's against your character, because you're not a late person. You're a timely person.
Yeah.
You build that positive affirmation, and then you hold someone accountable to be who they are.
Yeah.
Such as we have some students that, they struggle to get out of their shell, but then we catch a glimpse of them helping somebody. It could be as simple as somebody says, oh, I need a tool, and they pull it out of the box and hand it. And I see it, man, you're a helpful person.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Yeah.
So the second that we're not helpful, I say, hey, you know what? I know you. Wait, I saw you. Yeah. You're a helpful person. That's in your nature. That's in your character. So what's stopping you from being yourself today? Now we're not interested in helping and lending a hand and being involved. And that is a different way of being engaged, where it's like, oh, man, that's me. So I got to do some internal investigation, because I'm helpful. I'm capable. I'm a great helper, supporter. I'm a leader. What's the prohibitors that stop me from being who I am, rather than the way around of, we got to fix you. We got to make you into something better, because right now you're a mess. Well, nobody wants to stay in a program that long for that. And you think about our relationships with adults and mentors, nobody wants to sit down and listen to everything that's a problem that needs to be fixed with yourself.
I agree 100%. Jenny, you agree with that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm just soaking it all in.
William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast. And I couldn't agree more. It's interesting that I say this a lot with business owners, because it relates to them directly. But when somebody has a bad experience somewhere, they're real quick real quick to go on Facebook and blast it everywhere. Don't go here. They forgot to put my receipt in the bag or whatever. Pick a problem. But if they have a good experience, very rare that people do that. Some do, but it's not as common as when they have a bad one. So that's another way of saying what you're saying, except you put that young adult there. When they're doing something bad, it's that fast that somebody will jump on them for that. But when they're doing something good, maybe it's not acknowledged as much as it needs to be. And every time you acknowledge something like that, what you're doing is you're building confidence, right? Confidence is everything with young people. And those are the things I think that we need to build up. I think problems with some young adults stem from the fact that they just don't think they're good enough, right? So that's why this is a extremely important nonprofit, because there's so many things behind the scenes that occur that nobody really ever sees coming. Now, you get going, you're helping these young kids, and you start thinking, I think I want to get some more support and kind of form this nonprofit and all that. And look, I can't imagine how hard that is to do. Take me back to that. Was it surprising, the red tape that was involved, or was it a bunch of red tape, or was it easy?
Yeah. I mean, when you say lesser known nonprofits, what you mean is the most grassroots ones that are like starting from scratch, where you actually find yourself with a challenge and start trying to work yourself backwards of like, well, we're working and doing stuff, but how do we do this right? How do we do this, the right way?
Sure.
And learning about applying for your nonprofit status to the IRS, and you start learning about all the insurance you need to get, and then you need to get facilities and spaces, and then you got to get parent permission slips, and a lot of things that you start building out, and you think, oh man, we have to do this way. But on the reverse side of that, what I've been talking to Jenny about is, we look at our kids, and if we value our kids as the most wonderful, amazing, worthwhile individuals that deserve great programming, deserve great opportunity. If we put them in that shell and say, man, this is the lightning in the bottle, these young people that we have.
Yes.
Then what kind of program do they deserve? And they deserve the best kind that we can create. So we can't settle, and we can't start to look and say, well, sure, there's a leak in this, warehouse, but it's good enough for what it is. It's a bike shop.
Yeah.
We start to think, you know what? I want my students, when they walk in, to even feel the building's influence and say, man, the value of who I am when I walk in, because I inhabit these walls, and the walls reflect a lot of me. This is the wrapper on the candy, right?
Yeah.
It's gotta look good, it's gotta feel good, and it's gotta make me think, yes, I'm hot stuff to be in here. I don't know if you ever played sports or if you ever done any kind of event where there's a stage, but if you walk on a stage, there's something about it. If you walk onto the floor of a basketball court, or in any arena or football field or baseball or softball field, you all of a sudden get this sense of, man, I'm on the ground. Yeah. This is something great, that I belong here. I'm on this stage, and it's going to be so much fun. So for our kids to walk into a center or a space, a learning space, and feel that way, that's what we have been driving and pushing for. And that red tape, oh man, it's exhausting, and it's there, but we ask ourselves, are students worth it?
Oh yeah.
And they are. So let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you have to have, because people sometimes give up on things when it gets hard, and leaders push through that. They look at that as opportunity to get better, or an opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
And they push through it. And you did just that. Eventually, you formed that nonprofit, and then I guess it was all about, we need a place, we need a facility, right, for these kids to go. So how did you come up with where you're at now, which is Terrace Street, and you're adding a Government Street location?
Well, thankfully, we had a partnership with Breck, where we were kind of using some of their spaces, obviously some cool trails, some cool parks, and riding around. And so then they had a couple of parks that they weren't able to staff and man, and they offered us some room to lease. And I'll say it's a really, really great lease, because mostly it's the cost of us just keeping the door open and keeping it clean, And they're like, hey, as long as you get young people in here, and as long as we're not charging our participants to be involved, well, you can use it. And talk about a godsend, because we wouldn't really be anywhere else, it is expensive to get space.
Yes.
It's expensive to keep any kind of space anywhere, and it doesn't ever go down. you know, in value, it goes up.
That's right.
When you're a nonprofit trying to pour everything into your kids and everything into your programming to be better and stronger, you don't get excited when you're looking at a lease increasing, you know, and so this has helped us really have the staying power to grow to a point where we're now able to do a big expansion in the Mid-City area in Baton Rouge.
Fantastic. That's awesome. BJ Pawn and Gun in Denham Springs wants to buy your unwanted gold jewelry, gold coins, and gold bullion. With 30 years of experience operating in the Livingston Parish area, BJ Pawn wants to be your source when selling your gold. So stop by BJ Pawn today for a no-obligation offer. BJ Pawn, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. You're in a coalition with 4 nonprofits.
Absolutely.
Tell me about those.
Oh, the 4 nonprofits we're working with are the Big Buddy program, who we've already talked about, is amazing with building mentorship relationships and does fantastic work with young people. We're also partnering up with Humanities Amped, who works directly in public schools doing research projects and really sticks to the academia and relationship building on a similar level to us, which is why we gel, because they had some of our students in their classes and we started talking about the same students, and we just knew how to say, man, that's a great kid. We got to keep up with them. And then lastly is Line for Line, which I'm a big fan of them, because what they do is kids who will read books and get literacy and read will be able to go and get free haircuts at their barber shop. And then some of the kids even get to grow old enough to get barber technician jobs and certifications.
Yeah.
So they learn to cut hair. So they have a similar, I guess, vibe to us, because we like the skills and we like their relationships. So all 4 of us have really great, unique sets of either being in workforce, in mentorship, or at least in some format education with kids.
Yes.
And we had been sharing some of the same students already, which we didn't realize it. But, you know, when you're asking, like, where's that kid today? Oh, well, they're at the Big Buddy program. I'm like, what? What are they doing over there? And we find out. And we had some people walk in from other nonprofits like Line for Line. They say, hey, we're looking for this kid and this kid. What are they doing here? What is this? What are they doing here?
Yeah.
And so we started to realize our kids started to figure out how to make their wraparound programs by hopping into all of our different programs and being engaged. So we said, all right, the kids have figured it out. Why aren't we working together, like, more officially in a better partnership and actually getting to communicate? Because guess what? This kid has a lot of different qualities that they're getting served by us. Absolutely. Let's do a better job of communication and support so that we can do this in a bigger capacity. And from there, the first thing that we said was, well, let's get a space and all be in the same room, because then they don't have to travel from this part of town to that part of town and get dropped off here. Let's all be in one centralized location. Let's be right in the middle of Mid-City. And then we'll get all of our young people to get all of our services and experiences, and it'll just be so much stronger than, you know, what we currently have. So that's been a big motivation for us to push and to keep doing what we're doing.
I think that's awesome. And, you know, another thing that it gives you when you know, kind of get in a coalition with those organizations is it offers some sort of legitimacy. I encourage anyone out there, all my listeners, hear out your nonprofits. You would be surprised what some of these nonprofits are doing that are good things. So hear them out, because programs like this are important. There's something needed in young people in our community, or I don't want to sound like Whitney Houston, but they're the future, right? They are what, when I'm 75, I'm going to have there kind of running things. And so we want to take care of them. We want to teach them good skills, you know, and make them productive members of society. I think that's the goal. And I think everybody is kind of lined up on that aspect. But Front Yard Bites, you know, you function like any other nonprofit functions. You rely a lot on donations, I would imagine, and things of that nature. Tell me about that. Tell me about, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. So let's say a large corporation ABC is listening right now, and they're like, I want to get affiliated. I've been wanting to do that. I like riding bikes too, and I think that's great. How do they get in contact with you? Who would they talk to? How do they go about the process of supporting Front Yard Bikes in some way?
Well, they can get with any of our number of coalition members and just make a contact with any of those organizations I mentioned to, just say, look, I want to learn more. I want to tour this new facility and be involved as a corporate sponsor. And right now we have a couple of amazing sponsors that have already taken charge to make contact with me directly and our sponsorship committee.
Fantastic.
Blue Cross Blue Shield has just been fantastic.
Never heard of them.
They're key. Hey,
they are. They're definitely large and in charge.
They are, and there's a number of other organizations and Baton Rouge General and Capier United Way, and I mean you go down the list of
fantastic.
What's great is it's difficult, like you said, as a grassroots nonprofit to get off the grass of a yard and out of a field and out from under a tent that you're always popping up and get into facilities and spaces and begin to have sustainable long-term programs.
Yes.
It's very hard. It's easy for a nonprofit to last, 3-4 years. It's very hard to get past that threshold because you get to a point where it's like, man, we're getting stuck in a rut, And for these organizations, these foundations to kind of identify what's really going well with us and then to invite us to apply and then to push us further to say, you know what, let's pull you this way because you can do more in this avenue and even help give some direction and advice to us is fantastic. And corporate sponsors do that just as much as anyone. They can also help us to know what needs of their own clients are. And they say, look, I'm in this very specific community and I live in this community as many, business owners and companies do. And they say, this is things we would like to see. We want to support, but we also want to get involved. I love a business that says we want to donate. We want to come volunteer with staff as well.
Yes.
Because as much as the dollar is a really big value, time. When I tell our students, hey, we're being sponsored, because I don't say, we got a donation. I say, no, we have a sponsorship today.
Yes.
It is by this group, and they're here with their hands and feet because they believe in it that much to build out this new part of the community garden or help us put this mural up and beautify this area or this mechanic, bin in space. We're going to rebuild it, retool it, and that excitement, to see that, man, this agency, this big company or even a small company, even a business that just says, we believe in your worthwhileness so much. We're here to give, and we're here to show up and be with you in the work. Man, that does to your confidence. That's like any kid finding out that Adidas wants to send you gloves or, I don't know, Nike, wants to send you shoes. You get that same excitement of, yes, someone believes that not only am I the future, but my future is worth investing in.
Right.
That starts to hit at a different level because there's a lot of kids obviously struggling with that self-confidence. So,
sure.
Reaching out to frontyardbikes.com or frontyardbikes@gmail for me directly or any of those other nonprofits at their websites and information that we'll provide is, the best way because we're all excited to hear someone believes in our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's great that you're getting those larger corporate sponsors because as we discussed earlier, it's kind of like if Blue Cross Blue Shield is doing it, it must be legit. It must be worthwhile. I mean, people think that way. And
Absolutely.
So there's almost like a side benefit to that. Other than the fact that they are sponsoring you, and that is the legitimacy factor of that. So if you have any questions on that, Blue Cross Blue Shield's legit. So that ought to tell you how legit these people are. Now, let's talk about the services a little bit, that the nonprofit, because it's much more than just building bikes, right?
Exactly.
You do a lot of things there, cooking classes and welding classes. Tell me about those, the individual services that you offer a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's summertime, so we're putting our kids into groups and classes right now. So we have our welding fabrication class, or we have our high school group, middle school, and elementary, and we take them into our fab shop to teach how to use basic tools like chop saws and angle grinders, and what's our PPE, personal protection equipment, that we have to wear every single time we walk into a room, and what's the paths we walk for safety, and making sure that we can get to our equipment and then be ready to prep anything. And then we have a wonderful welder, and Mr. Will Adams, who does TIG welding and MIG welding with the students, and does a lot. There's a lot of observing, not a lot of hands-on right away. But then a number of the students get their hand on a MIG torch and a TIG torch, and be able to actually touch down on it and get a sense of what this kind of field is and what that kind of career is, which is amazing.
Yes.
So along with that, we have this community garden that we do gardening classes, because everybody loves to know how to grow your own food and really think about sustainable food, because we live in food deserts. There's not a lot of groceries everywhere that are convenient to get fresh produce. So growing from home, and then, I grew it. What do I do with it? There's a lot of kids that say, look, it's a sweet potato, or is it just a football? And they're just like throwing it around. It's like, I don't know what to do with this thing. So we had to get a kitchen, and we had to say, look, if you're growing and you're learning all this great thing about nutrition and food, well, how do you prep it? What do you do with it? And we have some great food culture, obviously, in Louisiana, but a lot of our kids, I'm telling you, and this is a call out to any parents, pull your kids into the kitchen. Yeah. Pull them into the kitchen when you're cooking. I know I got little ones. Yeah. It's a lot easier to just say, just go sit on the couch and watch TV and let me cook, because dinner will be a lot faster. Yeah. And I don't have to stress out about it.
Right.
But the experience they get by knowing what's going on to the plate and how it's happening. And so taking stuff out of our garden, bringing it to our little demo kitchen, and letting the kids learn just some basic cutting skills and cooking skills and basic recipe stuff, so that when they take that stuff home, it really gets eaten. It really gets in their diet. Otherwise, it's a whole lot of pretty gardens and fluff, but doesn't get to the table.
That's a good point.
And the last one, which is obviously the big fan favorite, is the bike program, because when you come to Front Yard Bikes, you're coming to earn a bike. You're coming to walk down these aisles of used, pre-loved old bikes that have been through stories of other kids riding around, skinning their knees, having great summer fun. Yeah. And you look and say, which is the one that I'm going to fix up and be my bike? And when they go down and select that bike, you already know what they're thinking. They're seeing themselves riding it. They're seeing themselves showing up.
Just like an adult when they're looking at a car, right? Same thing.
It's just like that. You think about those images of the kids riding bikes in Sandlot, or like in Stranger Things, and you're like, yep. That's the crowd riding through on those days. And so when they pick out that bike, they have a evaluation of the value of it, and they got to work off the hours little by little. But the first job is to do a diagnostic and start the repair. And then after it works, because it's got to work now. Hold on, it's got to really work safely. Because some students,
chain can't fall off.
Some students are like, the chain falls off. It's a feature. It's fine. We say, hey, make it work really well. Test it out, and then. Oh man, they can trick it out with all the tape and all the bar stuff and all the different colors and schemes, and make their little. If some kids make choppers and all this bizarre stuff, and say, you know what, that's awesome. And so they get that bike, they keep that bike, and then they obviously keep our shop as the place to repair it again and again and again and forever, and eventually trade it in.
Yeah,
we don't keep things forever. When they trade it in, I say, all right, we'll do evaluation. What's the appraisal? Did the bike go through misery, and is it garbage now? Or is it a great thing you kept up with and you were a good steward of it? And so you were a great steward, trade it in and get a new project, because you're getting taller, you need something bigger. And it's awesome, man. I have a lot of fun, obviously, in the bike shop. I talk a lot about that, don't I?
Yeah, you light up when you talk about the bicycles. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, let's say somebody's listening to this and they've got some bikes that they have no use for.
Oh, yeah.
So you take those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have all of our bikes that come to us are donated. Donated through bikes. A lot of community members. Also, our local police departments and sheriff's office will donate bikes that have been abandoned. They've collected. Sometimes our local universities, who have abandoned bikes on campus, will call us to try to do some pickups. Even in big apartment complexes, large apartment complexes sometimes have a problem with, they've had tenants, they have moved away and they have left their bikes in old racks and don't know what to do with them. They just communicate with us, and we can kind of sometimes glean some bikes from that. Now, I will tell you, some bikes are a lot more parts than bikes, but parts are what we need. We need to make repairs. We need to fix things. Even during, obviously, this past year of a pandemic, we had so many used bikes that we were able to help other people's bikes still work because outdoor recreation became huge. Sure. And people had old bikes, and we had, thankfully, the old parts to fix those old bikes. So that was predominantly a lot of our retail operation in Mid-City, where we're fixing, selling, and doing a lot to keep fundraising our programs, and obviously making jobs. You know, we want Front Yard Bikes to always be about making employment opportunities that our kids can get the experience to move on to better and bigger organizations and companies from us. So
absolutely. And have y'all ever done like bike drives or anything like that, or had?
Rarely, because man, do people show up with bikes. I mean,
it's almost too much of a good thing.
We've had folks show up with a trailer with like 100 bikes, and you're like, well, we better get to work quick, you know? Because so we haven't had to do drives, you know. We did one with Home Bank, which was fantastic, where they let people come into their banks and drop off bikes. Which
wow!
Imagine a bank full of bikes, but we're kind of the bike bank of Baton Rouge. But so we've had some great efforts there.
Very good. Very good. Now, Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word. Again, I want to encourage everyone to really listen and grasp what all the outside things that this nonprofit does. Aside from it's the fixing bikes and all of that are great things, but it's kind of like the behind the scenes things that these kids are getting through that really matters and are something that I really see out of it. Now, as far as volunteers, as we discussed earlier, you love those.
Absolutely.
You especially need some volunteers in the garden and lawn care section of what you guys do.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially in summertime. You know, weeds are fast to grow, things are quick, and while we have some amazing lawnmower technicians and weed eaters, they're all in middle school, most of them, so maybe some adult assistance there and support helps out a lot. I remember we had to teach one student how to, he just kind of used like a vacuum, you know, so he just kind of left these high spots everywhere. I said, all right, we might need someone to support you there in training on how to cut this thing up.
Yes, and you also mentioned in your questionnaire, and something that I think would be great to mention is that even if it's just a group that wants to volunteer one day, they don't, maybe everybody has lives and busy lives and stuff, but maybe there's a church group that wants to go out there for just a day and help where they can, and you would gladly accept that help, correct?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, we had some companies even, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but some companies would actually say, look, we're going to make it a paid day and come volunteer anyway, and really encourage their staff to get out there. We had that happen with LWCC, and Domain Company has done that. And so a couple have made that addition over, and obviously Exxon does that for a number of employees, where they really push, hey, get out, be involved. It's great for your mental health. It's great for your community connections to be out and be involved. And if that's not with us, look, with anybody, because there's a lot of nonprofits, and they're all missing a lot of helping hands right now. And
absolutely,
they could use some help.
And that's what I love about when I feature nonprofits, is the fact that it's not like a lot of businesses where y'all all compete against each other, and it's like a lot of y'all are friendly, and like we were talking about with Sebastian, his nonprofit, Wheels to Succeed. Y'all are friendly folks, and you
absolutely.
And that's always a good thing.
Sebastian calls us for his fundraiser, and he says, hey, can you set up and be a part of it? And I said, absolutely. And so you answer that call because the work of our community needs are always greater than what we could ever provide. but you're thankful for anybody that's working with you, and if it's a different capacity, even better, because I can't do what he's doing with providing these adaptive bikes for kids.
Yeah.
But if there's something small we can do to support, let's be a part of it and help where we can.
Love it. Love that. Now tell me about Youth City Lab.
Oh man, I'm excited to tell you about that. The Youth City Lab is where our 4 nonprofits plan to get all the kids that we've been engaging with on the ground. And obviously it's in our name. We want youth, we want young people, but we want it to be almost like a lab-like experience. We're experimenting. We're diversifying the different skill sets we can have in that room. Because while you listen to this and you hear, okay, bikes, okay, a barbershop, okay, cooking, okay, welding, my business or my company or my experience doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Well, how do we make a space where we can do more than just that? How do we make a room where somebody can come from a completely different background of career experience and share, but also get the kids' hands engaged in it? We don't want to just talk graphic design. We want to do a little graphic design.
Yes.
And we don't just want to talk podcast. We got to start doing a podcast in one of our studio rooms, right?
Yes. Hey, I'm down with it, brother.
Look, you're bike riding.
I got mobile equipment and everything.
Look, we're gonna get them on a bike and podcast at the same time.
We can do it. We can put one of them headphones on with the microphone.
The Youth City Lab is going to be that kind of transformative space where entrepreneurs and also companies and young people can come to be together, and it won't just be a sit down assembly. Let me talk to you about my career success. It's going to be, hey, and let's do some work together.
Yes.
Let's work on it.
Yes, and you just said a word that I love, and that's entrepreneur. Because let me tell you something. Anything you're learning at this nonprofit, you can use for your own business one day, folks. Boom. That's a lot of the issues that I see in society in general, just this is my opinion, but people are not as entrepreneurial minded as they used to be. And I would love to see a turn back to that. And it all starts with learning skills. Maybe you learn cooking here and you become a chef. Maybe you learn to fix a bike and you own a bike shop.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great one day for these young adults? And those are things that I'm passionate about. I love business, and I love local family-owned businesses that started from nothing and built it. You're no different than that. But what you're doing can enable the youth one day to own their own business. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?
Oh, we love that. In fact, we dedicate every Monday of summer, we do a bike ride to a small business to talk to an owner and ask them questions. And that's been a huge piece of us staying dedicated to what are our local businesses that are here, and what are they doing? How do they do it? And things as simple as going to Highland Coffees and asking them, how do you make money selling a drink, like a small, and not even like a drink you're bottling. You're not even bottling this. You're just making it per order.
Right.
How does that make a business? There's so many things that our kids don't know about. That's an amazing way to grow.
From humble beginnings in 1989, Big Mike's has long been a place for friends and family to gather for lunch, dinner, and drinks. Big Mike, Jocelyn, and their friendly staff invite you to come in and relax in one of their spacious dining areas, or watch a game on one of the big screen TVs. Big Mike's is a place to meet old friends or make new ones. Big Mike's offers daily and nightly specials, and they specialize in serving up delicious and fresh menu items. Big Mike's offers a catering menu for large groups and has private party rooms for up to 100 guests. Whether you're planning a quick lunch or a large family dinner, or just a night out with friends, Big Mike welcomes you to experience a great time. And don't forget to grab some t-shirts, caps, or koozies in the gift shop. Oh, or a bottle of Big Mike's Honey Dijon. It's delicious. Big Mike's Sports Bar and Grill. We're kind of a big deal.
There really are. And, especially with mentoring kids, things like, a class where these kids sit down and you have someone that maybe is a successful entrepreneur come in and say, hey, here's how I did it.
Yep.
I had, and I'll plug this guy for a second, but I had Mr. Milkshake on my show a few weeks ago. And this guy has an innovative way of making a milkshake. Now, I would have never thought of this, but he was a New Orleans trained chef who just had a love of milkshakes, man. And you go in there and you eat one, and let me tell you, you are in a sugar coma. It's like the rest of the day you might as well go lay down. But it's the best thing you've ever drank in your life. His business is absolutely on fire, and it all started from concept.
Yeah.
That's where the youth of this area, I would love to see them start with that concept, build up to where they own their own bike shop. They're a welder who owns their own welding company somewhere. Mm-hmm. Man, how huge is that? And so that's really what appeals to me. So you're doing great things over there. I love the concept with Youth City Lab, and I agree 100%. And so has that come to fruition yet? Is it still kind of in the planning stages? Where are you at on that?
We're in phase 1, so we've been able to get just the ground floor and get into that occupancy permit and just getting the basics in. We're going to be moving in our full-time service retail bike shop in there first, because that is a revenue generating arm that's going to help us to keep building the rest of the components. And like you said earlier, we're looking for corporate sponsors to be involved in this endeavor, because you love when we have somebody who's a corporate sponsor what's going on with the building for it to be completed and built out, but also show up at the building to see the young people and engage directly with them, which is huge. So we're looking for those types of sponsors to get involved, and we have obviously our sponsorship packet we're sharing around, and hopefully we can see this come to a completion in the next year before 2022. But it's a lot of work to get off the ground. Obviously, finding contractors and building materials is a heavy lift, but it's great. It's great when you meet people, like Jenny, who wants to help spread the word and get you in front of other individuals to find support.
When you say business, yes, we need entrepreneurs, but we need people that can work too.
Yeah.
Like you go into restaurants, you go anywhere, they're low staff. They need people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And what better way? That's what grabs me.
Well, and that's yes, it's very true. I mean, there's certainly a labor shortage in the market of people, and we see that with the labor market. So you're exactly right, Jenny. They do, even if they don't have necessarily that dream of owning their own thing. There are people out there that are completely happy working for someone else, and they get taken care of, and they're and all of those sorts of things. And you got to have that. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's all part of the journey,
Sure,
it's all part of the journey. I could tell you that throughout college, I wasn't running a bike shop. I was delivering pizza.
Yes,
it's like I needed a means to an end.
Yes.
I have to take these steps, and man, every stop along my road of any job, I learned something from somebody.
Yes,
if you keep your eyes open and you're listening, and I could promise you there were some probably terrible jobs everybody's had, but you learned something if you really paid attention. And so we want that for our young people, to where they can learn as much as possible to find a foot in the door at some of these great companies and get a start. Because it is a big risk to just hire anybody, and you're like, man, I want to hire this person. I want them to stay with us. I want them to grow with us.
It's expensive too.
And it's not cheap. Who's the candidate I go with? And when you're going to come to Front Yard Bikes at the Youth City Lab, you're going to see Humanities Amp kids, Big Buddy kids in line for Lincoln. You say, man, I want to hire all these guys and girls. What do I got to do to be in?
Yes, I agree 100%. And so, when I think of some nice sponsors that, I think of the banks. And banks would probably be great for you. And,
absolutely.
But you'll take them all. You take all comers as far as that goes. Any help goes a long way, I'm sure.
It's all opportunities.
Yes, absolutely.
And my mind goes the other way. I'm like, restaurants.
Yeah, they're great too. They're any business is great, but I do know that banks in particular love these type of nonprofits and
absolutely
to support. And also want to discuss with you some of the ways in which we did talk about earlier how they could get in touch, but you do have a website. Let's shout out, it's frontyardbikes.com.
That's right.
And you can go there, and then frontyardbikes@gmail.com if you want to just shoot them a email and expressing interest in either volunteering or sponsoring, whatever. They can certainly lead you in the right direction there. Now, I asked you on your questionnaire how you would define a leader, and I loved what you wrote here. You said someone who knows how to serve the people, I'm a service-oriented leader, as is my mother and even Jesus Christ. Doing work, leading by actions is the strongest symbol of leadership for me. And I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell you a story. I was a part of an organization here called Leadership Livingston, and it is put on by the Chamber of Commerce. And, you know, I'm a guy that I was a sales rep my whole life. So, you know, being first, you got to be first. When you're a salesperson, you know, you compete against other salespeople, even in your own profession and in your own business. So you're kind of raised up in that I want to be first mentality. So when I went and was honored enough to be selected for Leadership Livingston, that's what I thought it was about. So I get in there, and Leadership Livingston says, okay, we're going to split you up into groups, and you're all going to do service projects. And I'm like, oh, service projects? Wait a minute, don't I get to compete against somebody? And they're like, no, you do service projects. And you basically got in a group and you just picked something in the community that you thought was worthwhile, no matter what it was. We picked an organization in Walker, Louisiana called the Livingston Activity Center, and what they do is it's a challenged adult center where they make like paint sticks and stuff, and they need a lot of work done, and we went and we did that. We made that happen. So out of that, what did I learn? I learned that leadership has nothing to do with being first and everything to do with giving back. Period. You said it perfectly. And that's right, man. Serving people is what makes you a leader. And I just want everybody out there to hear that and do something. Go out there and volunteer. Go out there, give your time. You know, if you can sponsor, because that's what it's all about. It really is. So shout out to you, man. I could not have said that any better.
Thank you.
I really couldn't. Dane Arnold with iTrade Exchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what iTrade Exchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit iTradeExchange.biz. So, we did some fun facts with you. Yes, and with Jenny.
I didn't think we were going to get to these.
Oh, yeah, we're getting to them. I wouldn't let you get out on that. So, if you purchased a yacht, what would you name it? You said Miss Aldreamer?
Miss Aldreamer Smith.
Aldreamer Smith, 91-year-old volunteer. Tell me about her.
Miss Aldreamer Smith is a 91-year-old volunteer and a garden master. She has the master craft of touching anything in our garden and it grows.
Come on.
And boy, at 91, she drives down to our bike shop, and if she has some small meal plates or something she's made, she's giving them out to everybody. And she has such a caregiving heart of service. And at 91, you know, like you said earlier, sometimes it gets tough and you can hang it up. I'm like, Miss O'Dream, you're 91. You know, call me. I'll come to your house and pick something. She's like, no. I just wanted to get out and I wanted to come give some things. I knew you guys were here. Boy, so I said, you know what? If I make it big and I have to put a name on the side of a big boat, you better believe it's going to be Miss Aldreamer Smith.
I love it.
Cruising through.
There you go. The big yacht. I'm going to know it's you when I see that. Miss Jenny, not to be outdone,
I'm not even answering it now.
And Oasis would be the name of your boat. So there you go.
Yeah,
we got. If I see either one of those, I'll know. Now, the second thing I asked you on those fun facts was what was your dream job when you were 12 years old? Children's book author.
Yeah, why not?
I like that.
I like reading them.
Yeah.
The easy books, not the hard ones.
Yeah, not the hard ones. They got to be big words and short sentences.
More pictures.
More pictures. I hear you. Jenny, not to be outdone, you wanted to be a cartoon voice.
Yes.
I can see that about you.
Yes.
I can see that.
It was just always something everybody, I don't know, critiqued or said something about me, and I knew I had a unique voice.
Yeah.
So they were always, so I just wanted to use it.
Yes.
So
We're going to work together. I'll draw the book and then you'll be the voice because kids going to need a motion picture.
That's right. And I'll record it.
That the other day. I was like,
There we go.
Start YouTube and me reading books.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be? You had a good one, man. And the first time I've had this one said on the show, breathe underwater.
Oh, absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have thought of that one, but I like it. I think I want to breathe underwater too. Jenny, not to be out. And look, this tells you about Jenny right here. This tells you about her soul, right? Her superpower would be to make people feel love, peace, and joy. How sweet. And awesome. But that tells you about your
like,
your heart.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think that one's better than mine for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought
she got you back for the yacht.
It sounded good in my head.
Dustin, Jenny, thank you so much for being on today. Now, for all those people that watch this and want more information, I'm going to link everything we talked about with the website and the email to this podcast. So we're going to make it easy for them.
Right.
And they can just click on that to get more information. If you know any organizations or businesses that would like to get involved, tell people about this, share this podcast. That's a big important thing because social media is huge for your nonprofit, I'm sure. I mean, it's all about getting the word out, is it not? So I want to thank everyone out there for viewing and listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. And as we talked about with sharing this podcast, like, comment, subscribe, and share them. They keep going at that point, and it gets everybody involved. I want to thank my sponsors, Tricia Johnston Realtor, BJ Pawn, Big Mike Sports Bar and Grill, Sporting Center, Black Sheep Creative, SR Enterprise Painting, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance, and Tiffany C. Carter of Homekey Mortgage. We could not do any of this without all of you. If you would like information on sponsoring the show or appearing on the show, reach out to me at jim@localleadersthepodcast.com. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local nonprofits, and keep leading. Thank you very much. Thank y'all for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Black Sheep Creative understands the importance of digital marketing and your return on your investment. It's their aim to provide professional web and graphic design services at a price point that smaller businesses and startups can afford. Get in touch with them on the web at blacksheepcreative.com.